Hello and welcome to AFcast. I'm your host Malcolm, and today I am here with Bryce Manley, and we are going to be talking about the new Halloween update for Apex Legends, and we're also going to be talking about some leaks that have been going around lately of new legends that will probably be coming out in Apex Legends. So, yeah, let's start off with the Halloween update.
So the main focus of the new Halloween update is the limited time game mode called Shadowfall. Shadowfall is a single player game mode where you start with 35 people in a game, and it's on a night version of the old Kings Canyon map, which is really nice since they came out with the new map that they're kind of giving a little, even though it hasn't been long, giving a throwback to the other map that they had. And the way that the game mode works is the 35 legends will drop around the map as the battle royale would normally begin. However, every time someone dies, they become this thing called a shadow. And these shadows are very unique in many ways, but the game continues until there's only 10 living legends left.
So shadows are unique because they are extremely fast. They're double the normal, sprint, and they can climb infinitely high. So they can just keep going up a rock until they reach you. They also have the same effect that Bloodhound does when he uses his ultimate, which is Beast of the Hunt, and they'll have pretty much the same effect except for it's like darker and it's not red. It's more like gray and black instead.
Yeah, their screen is darker instead of like the Bloodhound's gray-ish hue. It's just a darker hue in general, but it still highlights the enemies bright red.
Yeah.
So you can see them clearly.
And they'll do 150 damage per melee hit, which is it's a significant difference from what you could hit before.
30.
Yeah.
It's 5 times the amount of damage that you used to be able to deal.
But one deficit that they do have is that they have no abilities to use, nor can they pick up any items, so they will not be using any guns or like ultimate or tacticals, or do passives even work for them? I don't think so. Yeah, no. And they have 30 health total, so they're pretty easy to kill. It's just that they get up in your face, and if there's so many of them, then they'll just overwhelm you completely. And not to mention that if you're a shadow, you cannot be damaged by circle. And you infinitely respawn via skydive, at least, like as if you had just jumped off of a jump tower, or if you had just jumped off of the dropship as well.
So when a shadow or a legend dies, there is a ping that appears on the map, much like the ping system in the game, that tells everyone in the game where that shadow or legend died at for like 5 seconds. So if you're playing the game, if you're a shadow that just died, what have you, if a shadow dies, a red skull will appear that anyone in the game can see. And then if a legend dies, a white skull with wings will appear. And this is to kind of get the game to go faster pace and give shadows the ability to know where the legends are more so. So the legends can't just super easily win the game. And then once you yourself die, either as a shadow or as a legend, there will be a ping on the location of that person that killed you for 10 seconds that gives their exact location. Unlike the other ping where it was just like the death location of the shadow or legend, it gives you the exact location of your killer as they move around for 10 seconds. So more into how the game mode actually works, once you get down to 10 players left, an evac ship will start coming in. It will tell the players where the evac ship will be, and the shadows where a zone will be, which is usually just like a named location on the map. And after 120 seconds, the ship will come into that location to pick up the last 10 legends if they're still alive. The goal of the legends is to survive till they're the last ones alive and actually get on the ship, but with even the shadows knowing where the ship is, it's extremely difficult because they just sit there and camp it the whole time. And there are a couple other differences with this game mode compared to how you would normally play the game, including that loot bins, like the supply bins that are orange and white, usually contain the normal loot that they have, but sometimes they'll contain what's called a loot bin spider or a loot bin zombie, which when you open the thing, they will come out to attack you. They're extremely low health. I think it's a one shot no matter what you use. But no loot will spawn in that loot bin until you kill them, in which the loot will actually drop from the spider or zombie that you kill. And then when you kill a legend, a similar effect will happen, where normally when you kill a legend, all that drops is their death box with their items. You still get that, but there's also drops like 3 random items. Like I've been playing before, and a legend dropped a blue armor, even though they only had a level 1 armor when I killed them. And it just drops that, like, it kind of gives that randomness, so it gives you more incentive to actually go out there and hunt down the legends.
There are also challenges associated specifically with this new Shadowfall game mode. And so, these kind of show up same as your daily challenges do whenever you first log into the game, where they're shown on the right side of your screen, or if you're to open up your map, you can also see them in the top corner as well. And so these challenges, by the way, you do still have daily challenges. It's just that you have to go into the challenges menu in order to actually find them now. But the challenges that they have for this Shadowfall event is the very first challenge is very easy. All you have to do is log in, and you will get a Halloween music pack, which is the background music of the new menu screen that you see during the Shadowfall game mode. And there's also another challenge which is actually tiered. And this badge, basically, the reward is a badge, and these different tiers give you a different tier of a badge. And these different tiers, the first tier is kill 1 shadow, which, like mentioned before, are the creatures that you become after you die as a legend. The second tier is kill 50 of these shadows. The third one is escape on the dropship 25 times, which is significantly harder than what it sounds like. So
it's mostly luck based.
Yeah. And another challenge that you'll have, this isn't part of the tiered badge, this is a completely separate one, is kill 25 loot bin spiders or zombies. And if you complete this challenge, you'll get an R301 weapon skin that's like Halloween themed.
Yeah, a rare R301 event skin.
And another challenge is that if you kill 50 legends, you'll get a Octane skin. And another challenge is win as both a legend and a shadow during the Shadowfall event, and you'll get a devotion skin. And then if you complete 20 daily challenges during this, and this is whether in regular mode, ranked, or in Shadowfall mode, so you can do these daily challenges in any of the game modes. But if you complete 20 of them, then you'll get the special alternator skin, which is one of the best ones in my opinion out of all of them. So, yeah.
There's a lot of complaints going around the community about the Shadowfall game mode, specifically that it's too hard to win as legends and that the shadows are way too strong. Because the way that it's set up, as Malcolm explained, the shadows have all this stuff going on where they have extra damage, lower health, all of this.
Increased speed,
all of that, which makes them sound really strong. And then you have the fact that wherever you kill one, everyone in the game knows that you're there, so all the other shadows will start swarming you, that sort of stuff. And especially,
do the pings still appear if you're a legend, or is it only when you're a shadow?
The pings appear as a legend or a shadow. So yeah. But once, especially near endgame, it becomes chaotic when you'll be swarmed by 10, 12, 20 shadows at a time, just because you ended up killing one shadow. And I've noticed that on watching PC gameplay, it's not quite as bad, but people are still complaining. But on console especially, where you have that aim deficit, where you can't aim as well, it becomes a very big burden trying to do anything in the game mode besides hide until the end.
All right, so let's move on to the second part of this podcast episode, which is the legend leaks that we have. And yeah, so let's start off with the first one, which is Rosie. So the first one of Rosie's abilities is, and by the way, these are all like so some people might have more abilities than there are possible abilities to have on a legend, but that's just because these are concepts. So don't be like, wait, that person has 2 tacticals. It's because it could be an either or situation. They're still going to manipulate some of these things as well, because some of these are way overpowered, some of these are way underpowered even. So,
and nothing about these is confirmed. Any of these legends could be scrapped. They could have already been scrapped. It's all just stuff from previous data mines and people who have playtested the game coming out and saying these things. So there's no guarantee that any of these legends will even be in the game. It's just what's kind of what we know at the point.
Yeah, so to jump into Rosie's abilities, her first ability is Eye for Quality, which allows her to see through walls, and it can open up hidden compartments and loot bins. So I don't know if that just means that they're going to add hidden compartments within loot bins, or if they're going to make it so that way she could just basically get an extra thing of loot from loot bins.
That's what I'd assume, is she gets an extra little thing because it's...
But I don't know how they would add that. Like, would she activate the ability, then she's able to press X on a loot bin or something, and it pops out?
I'm assuming it would be her passive ability. So it's something where, if
maybe
she opens it, then there's another little compartment that'll open automatically when she opens it. But I don't know.
Well, her next ability is Supply for Demand, which is, you hold a button to choose a type of loot, and that loot will be revealed in the area through walls. So it's kind of the same thing of her Eye for Quality, except for more specific. And her next ability is Burglar's Best Friend, which is she throws a disc. She kind of throws a disc kind of like Gibraltar does, and then she teleports to that location that the disc landed at. And then her other one is Black Market Boutique, which is place a device that can steal all nearby loot. So she is very loot-based. I'm assuming she'd be some kind of recon character. But she doesn't seem that good, in my opinion. She seems kind of just, if you want to get a crap ton of loot, type of thing. Like, I don't know. Maybe it's good if you want to find certain loot items for other characters, because there's other characters in this that will have stuff where they specifically need shotgun ammo or specifically need heavy ammo or even certain weapons and stuff like that. So that might be one thing that she's really helpful for when it comes to team base, but for the most part, it seems she's very solo play, unless you have a communicated team.
So the next character is Nomad, who is very similar and may be the same character as Rosie based on his abilities, because he is also very, very loot based. But his first ability is his passive, and it's called Pack Mule, which states that Nomad and his teammates have additional backpack space. Now, we don't know if this tiers with whatever level backpack you have, or it's just from the start you get so many extra spaces. But that could potentially be very game breaking, having someone who from the start can pick up so much more stuff. His tactical is Loot Compass, and it says follow the loot compass to the nearest item. So it's, again, very loot based. It's kind of just you use it and it will tell you where any loot is that's close to you. His ultimate is a crafting table, which you can place it down and scrap salvageable material and purchase items.
Yeah, so from the purchase items things, there's a couple other characters that have stuff that have certain purchasing abilities. And so we're wondering if Apex is thinking about making some kind of shop that you can attend to, kind of like CSGO, but on the move type situation instead of at the beginning of a round, which once again could also be game breaking. Because it is very, very hard to balance out a shop that is in the middle of a firefight. Because then people can buy, I'm guessing they won't have golden items like Kraber or Mastiff and stuff like that, but people can buy whatever weapons best suits them, or instead of them trying to actually get the weapon.
Even if it's something small, you can only buy ammo, that's still really strong.
Yeah, especially for characters that we'll see later on who can buy that need specific ammo type for their abilities.
Yeah.
So, but his Pack Mule ability as well, I feel like it'd be better suited if it was only him that got the extra backpack space instead of the entire group. because then it becomes a little too OP. And it'll make it more even with other passive abilities that are with other characters if he only had it himself instead of others as well. So, especially for one character that we'll see further on, who has like a LMG that they can set up and it uses a bunch of heavy ammo and stuff like that. If you have extra backpack space, that means that you have extra ammo compared to other of the same character. And so even though it doesn't seem like much of an advantage, it can be significant depending on the firefight.
Or even if you can sit there with that LMG, run out of ammo for it, quickly run over to his crafting table, buy more ammo, and then run back. That's another thing that would be really, really strong.
Yeah. So the next character is Revenant. So Revenant has kind of been seen already in Shadowfall in a way, kind of. And I'll explain his abilities and then we'll explain the Shadowfall thing after that. So his passive is... Okay, so first of all, before I go into that, he's rumored to have two different forms, which is a regular stance and a shadow stance, which is kind of where we get into Shadowfall. But his regular stance has a passive ability, which is called Infiltrator, which allows him to climb walls higher and crouch walk faster. And the climb walls higher is kind of like a shadow where they're able to climb infinitely high. And then there's also a Mark for Death, which fires a poison arrow, and you're able to press whatever button it is again to reveal the target's location for up to a minute. And the mark is removed if the target heals to full. And so this is kind of shown as well with the death pings that we have in Shadowfall as well. So keep that in mind as well. But his next ability is Poison Bomb, which is essentially the same thing as the Poison Dagger, except for it's an area of effect, and it kind of acts the same as Caustic Gas, where like you get slowed down by the AOE of it, and yeah, and it also obviously damages you like normal poison stuff. So then his last thing is Death Recall, or his last thing of regular stance is Death Recall, which is he drops a totem that protects anyone who uses it from death, and instead of getting killed or downed, you'll actually return to the totem with 20 health. So one complication that this brings up is, if you put it outside a circle. So unless it then gets destroyed, like it might have a certain amount of hit points in which the circle will like instantly destroy it or something like that, which might work, but yeah, it could be a bit complicated to use because it comes way too close to having a revive shield. And even then it's more powerful than a revive shield. Way more powerful.
It's instant.
It's instant revive.
Yeah.
Especially if this is... I'm guessing it would only be one-time use as well, like whoever gets downed first, because if it just lasts there a certain amount of time, like Wraith's shield or Watson's power core thing, then it would take, or portal, not shield, sorry. Then it would also be way too OP, because if somebody were to wipe a squad and then all of them were to just teleport away, that's a little bit of I don't know, it seems too much of an OP factor. But anyway, onto his shadow stance. So his passive for this one will still be the Infiltrator, which is being able to climb walls higher and crouch walk faster. And his two tacticals that they're throwing around for this is Shadow Walk, which is walk silently and faster for 6 seconds. And the cooldown like will instantly reset if you kill someone. And his next one is Shadow Step, which is send out a Shadow Revenant. So I'm guessing that'll look like these shadows that are in Shadowfall right now. And if you press the same button again, you'll actually teleport to where that is. But that kind of gets close to Rosie's ability, where she's able to throw a disc and then teleport to that disc. It's kind of the same thing. Not to mention the Revenant is kind of the same as Mirage as well.
It seems like it seems like a very in between of what Rosie and Mirage would be.
Yeah.
Where it kind of like gives that brief second of distraction and then you can teleport to wherever it goes.
Yeah. But I do really like that idea though, of being able to send something out and then be able to switch spots with it. Kind of like, I think that's a cool idea.
Which was also shown in Borderlands 3 with the Digiclone.
Yeah. So
if you know that, it sounds like it'll be very similar to that.
And then the ultimate for the Shadow Stance will be the Shadow Door, which is create a doorway through walls, which lasts 5 seconds, which is very similar to Wraith's Portal, or Shield, as I said earlier. So, but this will basically just allow him to have a ghost effect of being able to pass through walls. So, and that seems like harder. It seems like kind of hard coding. Like, it shouldn't be too difficult, but that seems a little complicated for just one ability to just click and go.
Yeah. And again, with Revenant, it's like the other ones. We don't know if he's going to be in the game, and we don't know how these stances are going to work. Like, if he'll be able to just, like, press pause and instantly switch them on the fly, if he has to choose which stance he's going to be in before the game.
And then you also said it could be something like Pathfinder, where you have to go to some kind of beacon in order to switch, in order to use the ability and, like, switch whatever stance you're at. But I feel like if it's during the game, it'll be a little bit too overpowered.
Yeah.
And I also mentioned this before we started the podcast, is that usually when you see a character, you know what abilities you're going against. But when you come across Revenant and he has 2 different stances, you're going to have to figure out whether or not, like, what abilities you're going to have to come across until you first find out what the ability is. Like, one of the abilities that he has is, because then it becomes more like you have to know what 6 abilities are when you're coming across Revenant rather than just knowing 3. That way it's a lot less limited, and it's a lot less information that you have to process. And so I feel like giving Revenant more and more tactical and ultimates kind of makes him a little bit of a mind-boggling character for the other team. Obviously, this won't always be the case, because you'll find out pretty quickly what stance he's in depending on when he uses his tactical or ultimate. But it'll be weird when you're trying to first initiate the attack, because you won't know necessarily.
And another thing about Revenant is he might be 2 ideas for 2 different characters as well. Like,
yeah,
his regular stance could be one character, and then his shadow stance could be another character, where they just change one of their passives slightly. Or they could do something along the lines of, because there's been a leaked image of Revenant where he looks very skeleton-like. They could do something along the lines of where he has 2 separate characters, where one of them is an actual person, an actual legend, and one of them is
like a skeleton version.
Yeah, one of them is a skeleton shadow version. That would be really cool. So the next one is Immortal, who is the concept art that we have so far is very Titanfall themed.
It's very Pilot-esque.
Yeah, it looks almost identical to a pilot.
It's like if a pilot were to become a Jedi Knight, kind of looking.
Actually, I'd say if a pilot went to Destiny.
Yes. Yes, if a pilot went Destiny, yeah.
But his passive is called Hard to Kill, which is when he gets downed, he can revive himself, which I'm not sure how that's going to work, because it takes away from the gold resurrection shield and stuff. So I'm not sure if it's like, if they're going to make it just a ton worse or what have you, but it just seems something that's way too strong to be a passive skill. And then his tactical is Shield Charger / Teardown, which lets him unleash a cloud of nanites.
I like cow better.
Unleash a cow of nanites to charge your team's shield, or he can send the cloud forward in order to damage enemy shields for a short period of time.
It kind of reminds me of Black Ops 3, the swarm that you can have.
Yeah.
Or like the hive, or whatever it was called.
Except it's kind of like more of a cloud instead of this little thing that you have to activate. But yeah.
Yeah.
And then his ultimate is Rise of the Phoenix, which restores your health and shields to full and gives nearby teammates 30 seconds of self-revive. But the 30 seconds of self-revive takes 8 seconds to charge. So once you activate it, your teammates won't get self-revive for 8 seconds. After that 8 seconds, they'll have self-revive.
Which is stupid OP.
Yes.
Like, stupid OP. Once again, this is the same thing back to the totem. This is just a second chance for your entire squad, basically, unless you were to finish off whoever you downed. But that also is giving, that's also giving this immortal person, like, an entire second health and armor bar. Like, that is so OP. Because if you have golden armor and your entire health, and then you were to activate that ability, you'd instantly have all of that back. And that's way too OP.
And it lasting for the teammates stuff lasting for 30 seconds. Most mid to short range fights in Apex Legends are over within 15 or 30 seconds. So that basically means that you have the ability for that entire fight.
I think it would be better if he had something that basically gave him an instant med kit or instant shield battery instead as his ultimate. Because once again, with like the self-revive thing, like that completely gets rid of the ability of having a revive shield, like the knockdown shield that gives you the revive ability, which at the same time they might even get rid of that idea because they already got rid of the executioner perk and just gave it to everyone. So maybe like the executioner perk that used to be on golden armor, maybe they give this ability to certain people instead. Like maybe this is an ultimate that someone can use or something like that, instead of it being a golden knockdown shield. I don't know, but it seems a little too OP for what it is.
With the current state of the game, it kind of trumps over.
It basically gives you an instant knockdown shield.
Yeah, it gives you a free, from the start of the game, golden knockdown shield. So you don't even need one. You can give it to your teammate. So it seems very, very strong.
Yeah. Yeah, it's an instant knockdown. It's an instant golden knockdown shield for the other two people on your team, and then a free Phoenix kit for 0 amount of time for yourself, all in one ultimate. Like, and if you put it into those words, it sounds a lot more OP than if you were to just read it.
And your own passive gives you a free knockdown shield, golden knockdown shield, where you can revive yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Like, so basically you have 3 golden knockdown shields and a Phoenix kit for 0 amount of time. I mean, I guess there's the 8-second time to charge and then only 30 seconds, but like, oh my gosh, 38 seconds.
Yeah, and the whole time for charging the ultimate, but yeah.
Like, it's way too OP because you're giving your entire team a second chance, basically. So our next character is Blisk, which, yes, this is Cuban Blisk from Titanfall 2, which was like the head of Apex Predators in Titanfall 2. I don't know if he still is or not, but he'll be older now, 30 years older, because this is 30 years in the future. But his passive is Interrogation, which is executing an enemy will reveal the location of their allies for 10 seconds. So if you've ever played Rainbow Six Siege and you've ever played Caveira or seen Caveira, it's the exact same thing. You basically interrogate the person. I bet you it even has a certain animation that looks like interrogation from Blisk as the execution.
Yeah.
Which will be awesome. I think that's an awesome passive ability because that takes a good amount of time for you to actually get that. 10 seconds can be buffed or debuffed really easily. And, like you can, it just seems like a very easy, and it just seems very easy to do and easy to manage, whereas these other abilities seem hard to make even with all the other characters.
Hard to balance out.
Balance, yeah. That's the word I'm looking for. So, yeah. And then his tactical will be a throwing knife, which will deal 20 damage, and it marks targets. So it's kind of like the pulse blade from Titanfall 2, if you were to use that. And killing a marked target apparently gives you double credits, which once again goes back to our store idea of them having a store in game. Maybe this is also just double credits for actual shop in the game, which would be a little dumb to have a character that you can grind for stuff more, but
use one character to get other characters easier.
Yeah. So I don't know if this throwing knife though, if it's the same exact thing as a pulse blade where if it lands on the ground it'll still send a pulse and you're still able to see it, or if you actually have to hit the target in order for it to mark the enemy.
Or it could be something along the lines of where it's not actually like it doesn't ping the enemy, it doesn't show you them, but if you hit them, it has like an in-game, like in-program mark on them, which basically just means that you get the extra double credits.
Maybe, yeah.
Where you don't actually show them, but if like say you call out to your team that, hey, I marked the Pathfinder, no one will be able to see where the Pathfinder is, but when you get in the fight with him, you'll get double credits for the kill.
Yeah, I mean, we don't get any credits now, but so double would still be 0, but you know. And then his ultimate is called Payday, which is squad kills award credits, and you can spend credits on powerful supplies. So, still the shop idea.
Except this one seems a lot stronger.
Yeah, this one definitely doesn't seem like it's in-game.
Yeah.
Unless it's something, I can't think of I'm thinking of games, I just can't think of the names of them. But basically you have kind of like zombies. It wasn't the example I was thinking of, but this is something like that. Like the totems in Black Ops 4 zombies, or the
banners.
The charms or whatever you
The
have.
banners on 9.
Yeah.
Is that what you're talking about? Yeah.
Or wait, no, not even that. I don't know what I'm trying to think of what they're called.
Oh, talismans.
Talismans.
There you go.
That's what they're called. Where basically, you get this powerful item at the beginning of the game that you start out with. Like, you're able to activate this talisman-like thing, and having Blisk allows you to get more of a chance of having these items to have to start out with the next game, which is then a little OP because then that leaks over to other characters as well.
Yeah.
So, but that was just an idea.
So we're getting into a lot more of the mysterious characters where there's not as much information on them and they're not as fully developed per se. And the first one of these is Rampart, who one of his abilities is called Amped Cover, which builds cover that provides a damage boost to anyone who stands near it. And this cover can be then picked up and moved around.
It sounds a lot like in the first division, the mobile cover thing that you could have, where you could place down this cover that you can use anywhere that you want to. That was super hella glitchy and wasn't helpful at all. So,
or even like Titanfall 2 with the amped wall.
Yeah, that as well, which would be a lot more useful.
And then this is what Malcolm was talking about earlier, My Friend Maxim, which is a mounted machine gun that anyone in the squad can use, but it uses heavy ammo to fire.
So that means anyone in the squad will have to have heavy ammo in their inventory in order to do it. Or maybe even you can
fill it.
Yeah, kind of give it a certain amount or something like that. I don't know. Like there's a separate hotkey that you can use in order to put it into your machine gun instead of into your inventory type deal. But I don't know.
And again, since this is still in testing and all of that, and it's not confirmed, there's more abilities than just the 3. So his next ability is called Fixer, which is swapping to melee equips a wrench players can use to repair structures.
That'll probably be some kind of passive.
Yeah. I was going to say, I'm assuming My Friend Maxim will be his ultimate.
Yeah.
But then the Fixer and the next 2 ideas all seem like passives.
Yeah, and then the amped cover kind of seems like a tactical.
Yeah.
And then the My Friend Maxim seems like an ultimate.
Yeah, the next ability is Cover Fire, which is firing from the amped cover overcharges your weapon damage, which sounds very similar to what amped cover already does, where it provides a damage boost.
Yeah, it seems very repetitive.
Yeah. And then his final ability is called Gunner, which is that LMGs have increased magazine capacity and reload faster.
Yeah, and I feel like Gunner won't be added because I feel like any, instant upgrade to a gun that you were to pick up is a little bit of I don't want to say game breaking because it won't be game breaking, but it'll give him.
He'll be on the stronger side.
Yeah, it'll give him too much of an advantage to
Especially
make him not
early
as
game.
balanced as the others. Yeah,
especially early game. But yeah, I believe that Fixer will probably be the passive that goes through because Cover Fire is very much like the amped cover already is. Gunner seems very strong, so I feel like Fixer just having that wrench.
Gunner just seems too unique and problematic.
Yeah.
But the next legend that we have is Jericho. His passive is a ballistic shield protection, which your ballistic shield protects your back when you're not actively using it. So this goes back to Black Ops Zombies where you have the shield. And if you have it on your back, then you get less damage dealt on your back. Because then his ability which is his potential tactical, is his ballistic shield itself, where you pull out this full body shield that protects you from incoming fire, kind of like Ajax's full body shield, or Monty's from Rainbow Six Siege full body shield. Probably more like that because Ajax was able to shoot through his shield. So, but then his potential ultimate is the Shield Breaker Javelins, which is you have 2 electrically charged javelins that will instantly destroy body armor. So kind of,
we don't know if it instantly destroys. It says burn through body armor, so either it does like increase damage to armor, or
fair.
it'll instantly destroy it. But
I'm guessing this also does initial damage as well. So that way, if they don't have shields, still getting a spear through your chest is still gonna do some damage. So
or it's something like it's a mobile Watson tactical thing where like you can throw it and set it in 2 different places and it creates like a fence between them.
That would be cool.
Where if you go through it, it does a lot of damage to your.
That should just be what Watson
shield.
Has. So yeah, but Jericho definitely seems like another. I don't know. He seems. I kind of like the shield idea because I think having some kind of shield character in a battle royale game or as a specialist in Apex Legends would be cool, but I feel like that would be really hard to balance out with everyone else. But I think if it's just a shield, like if you don't have any, like you're not able to use a pistol on the side of it, kind of like you are for Blitz or Monty if you were to lower his shield, but like just be a Monty with your fully extended shield kind of, I think would be the primary way to go. And then having it when it's on your back and somebody hits it on your back can kind of be like a pan from PUBG where it just maybe even it ricochets and it can still hit people back if it's like light or heavy ammo, because energy ammo can't exactly ricochet.
I just feel like Jericho is one of those where they need to be very, very careful with it.
Yeah.
Because he can either be really weak or really strong. Because, as you said, I even feel like if he has just the shield with nothing, he's a little too weak then when you have people like Pathfinder, that sort of stuff, who can move around so quickly.
But then you're also kind of like a mobile cover as well for your team.
Like...
But I do feel like there should be something added, like maybe kind of like Clashes where, she has an electric shield instead of just a regular full body shield.
Where she has some way of doing some sort of damage or helping other than just
standing
there.
So maybe he has another shield breaking advantage when it comes to his shield. Like some kind of EMP force that you can send out through the front of your shield that allows you to destroy people's armor or like do the same amount of like the 50 HP on people's armor like Crypto's drone does with his EMP. Like have that same effect but in a short radius in front of you. Or even some kind of grounding thing like where it people can't be flying behind you or something like that, or like it slows people down type thing.
So the next one is called Scunner, whose passive is called Light Step. You're not slowed by debris traps and do not leave traversal evidence for trackers. So it kind of sounds like a counter to Bloodhound in a sense, where he can't see where you've been, that sort of stuff.
And the same thing as Caustic, because their tactical is the debris trap. So the same thing as Caustic, where like he's not gonna have the same deprivations as on his own items as other legends. So yeah,
as Malcolm said, Scunner's tactical is debris trap, where you drop a pile of debris that slows and damages enemies when they move through it. So it sounds very similar to like Ajax barbed wire in Call of Duty. Yeah,
it's some kind of like spike or razor wire type situation going on there. And I'm guessing then any debris traps he goes through from other Scunners will doesn't get any damage. But does that also mean that people from your team can get slowed down by? It probably means that your teammates don't get hurt but slowed down by your own
Much
debris
like
traps.
Caustic or any like Bangalore, that sort of stuff, where they still get the status effect but they don't take the damage.
Yeah.
And then Scunner's ultimate is called a Shatram Barrier Grenade, which instantly creates a spiked barrier made from hardening resin wherever you throw this grenade. And like we don't know how big the barrier is going to be, if it's like something that you just barely crouch behind, or if it's
Kind of
gonna be
like the one character from Overwatch that has the ice wall.
May, yeah.
Yeah. Like maybe it's something like that where it's like really big, or maybe it's something that you can still jump between but can deal damage if you touch it type thing.
Or
I
if
don't
it's
know.
something like there's just a window in it that you can peek through, or
Yeah.
what have you.
The next character that we have on our list is Husaria. At least that's how I think you say their name.
Husaria, something.
But their passive is the shotgun kick, which is what I was talking about, the shotgun ammo earlier, which is a breaching shotgun that you have on your calf that discharges when you melee doors or enemies. So it probably won't do a ton of damage. It'll probably do like 5 to 10 damage per kick or something like that, plus your melee. So like a total of 30 to 40 damage. Or wait, no,
35 to 40.
Yeah, 35 to 40.
Or 40, yeah.
And not to mention that this will probably instantly kick down doors, kind of like Shadows can, instead of it just because it's a breaching shotgun, so it's gonna instantly destroy doors instead. And maybe even if they add some kind of wall destruction ability, then this will also help for destroying those walls. But yeah, and this obviously requires shotgun ammo, just like what was his name? Rampart's ability needs heavy ammo for his LMG that you can set up. But their tactical is a flashbang, which you throw a grenade that blinds and deafens people, just like a flashbang. Which took them long enough to think of an idea that resembled a flash grenade. So, and then the ultimate is a concussive breaching charge, which is actually a really cool idea in my opinion. And it's you plant a breaching charge that fires a sonic wave through walls to destroy traps, and it forces open all the doors and disorients enemies, which is kind of what I was thinking of when we were talking about I can't remember his name, the one guy who has the shield for his ability, Jericho.
Yeah.
And so like that would be cool to have on the shield. Maybe not as powerful as as maybe just disorienting enemies, or just destroying traps or something like that, like the EMP, like I said. But the concussive breaching charge is a really cool idea because you can place it outside of a building if you know a team is in there. Activate it, it disorients everyone inside, destroys any caustic traps that were in there, and then you just breach and clear. So
it allows you to be a lot more aggressive on campers, especially like late game where you're set up in like Skyhook,
when there's only one building remaining and know the last squad's in there.
You're set up on Skyhook or like Skull Town when we had Kings Canyon, where people are sitting inside of a building or what have you, and you can just use that to be able to push in more safely.
Especially if you were to activate Bloodhound scan right as you did that as well, where all of them are while they're disoriented. It would be a very powerful, it would probably even be game breaking, honestly, but a very powerful way to, get rid of any campers that are in a building. So, yeah.
The next character we don't know the name for. It's either Prophet or Seer. It hasn't been confirmed. Well, none of this has been confirmed, but it's unknown whether their name is Prophet or Seer. But their passive is Sniper Training, which increases their accuracy while ADS'd, and they start the game with a scope.
I'm guessing it would be like some kind of sniper scope.
Probably like a 4-8 times.
Yeah, or probably 6 times, since that's not as...
Yeah.
Since that's more common.
It's a default 6 times.
Maybe even like a 2 times or 3 times.
Which I don't know how much I would like that, starting the game with an inventory spot already taken. If it's like... it'll be easy
enough to drop it, but to have an attachment already in your inventory when you start gives you a very slight advantage.
Or if it's something like it doesn't take up her inventory, but it's offside, but that gives her even more of an advantage.
I think the scope would be fine as long as it's not like a 4 to 8 times, like it's a 6 times. Because if it were to be something like an extended mag, then I'd be more worried. But since it's just a scope, then I won't worry too much about it. Not to mention, like, it'll easily be dropped. Like, it's very easy to drop it right off the bat if you want to. Like, if you get guns that don't have a sniper capability. So
their tactical is called Spotter Sight, which scans the environment for enemies and gathers information on targets found.
Bloodhound.
So it could be something like Bloodhound where it shows their exact location, or it could be something where it scans their surroundings and tells you not like exactly where they are, but like there's a pathfinder in the area.
Yeah.
Or something along those lines where it tells you that there's this one enemy type in the area, or there's these kinds of enemies in the area, but doesn't tell you where they are.
Or even like what guns they have, maybe, or something like that.
Their ultimate is then called Triple Tap, which equips a silent sniper rifle that fires, or it has 3 shots total.
I have some problems with this one. You're getting a third weapon that has the same, I guess, I'm trying to think of the word, like, I guess impact as a Kraber. It doesn't have the same stats because we don't know what the stats are yet, but it has the same kind of like, I feel like if I were to think of a character that has a sniper rifle, I'm going to be as scared as someone who has a Kraber almost.
Yeah.
Like,
even if they only have 3 shots with a Kraber, you can get 1 shot most of the time.
Yeah. Like, because if you use a sniper rifle, you have, because I mean, it's just like the Division, like Division 2, where you can have a specialty sniper. Like, it gives you a little bit more of an advantage than, that's also the kind of the problem I had with a heavy gun to set up, but at least that is, you know, in one spot. It's not like, it's a sentry. It's not going to move. But with having a sniper rifle, you're able to still move around. It's not like a turret that you'll set up and able to only use in that one spot.
And if it's something where, I'm assuming they're going to make it so that it charges slowly, but it could be something where they try to make it charge quickly, and then that character gets, if you survive to the end, 9, 12, 15 shots from it.
Yeah. Like, it just, because you don't need to save ammo types.
Yeah.
So it's also kind of OP in that way. But having an entirely new weapon and just right there, just to use.
That doesn't take up a weapon slot. You can quickly switch off of it. That just seems very off.
Yeah. So our next character is Downfall. And, Downfall's passive ability is Burning Anger, which, he builds up rage by dealing damage. So if you think of, like, Force Unleashed 2, you build up a rage meter during that game. I'm blanking on other games that have that ability. But there are a lot of games that have you deal damage and you get an ultimate ability, and some are rage related and some are just like, Black Ops or like Call of Duty games where you'll get your ultimate ability by killing people. You'll get it quicker by killing people. But then, filling your rage meter makes you immune to fire for 20 seconds, which is kind of stupid.
I think that the main reason that they're using Downfall is to kind of, because right now I'm like 90% sure that the thermite grenades are the least used in the game, period.
Yeah.
They're the least picked up, least used. Like, I'll pass them up anytime I see them. And, like, sure, they're good, but, like, they really revolve around team play at the moment. And I feel like the main thing with Downfall
Not to mention you don't get to choose what line it makes. Yeah, it kind of just makes it random.
It's not random. It's perpendicular to whatever angle
I know it is, but, like, it's very... You have to know what you're doing in order to use it properly.
It just feels like, unless you're team-based where you can set it up and have someone run through it or use it to flush people out and stuff, it's very weak at the moment. I feel like Downfall is mostly trying an idea to be able to give incentive to people to be able to use this as a solo thing.
Not to mention that his tactical and ultimate are around fire. So, because his tactical ability is Fire Sale, which he basically drops a box of 4 Molotovs that your teammates are able to pick up. I don't know if it goes in your inventory or if you pick it up and you don't have access to anything else until you either drop it or throw it.
I'd assume it's something that goes in your inventory.
Yeah, I'd assume that as well. But then, you're able to throw these Molotovs just like thermite grenades, except for I'm guessing it'll have an AoE effect instead of a line.
That, or they're just using Molotovs as a replaceable name for...
Yeah, it could just still be the thermite grenades. I don't know. But then there's also his ultimate, which is Rain of Fire, which is, he fires a cascade of incendiary rockets, which sounds awesome in the first place. And so I'm guessing it's kind of like Gibraltar or Bangalore, where, you get all of these rockets that come down onto people, probably with some kind of warning at first. And then instead of it having some kind of concussive ability with some damage, no, it just drops fire everywhere.
Napalm.
Yeah. Which will obviously give you the incentive of also having Burning Anger, which is, being able to run through fire. But I don't know how they're going to make it so that way it's 20 seconds if it's a passive ability. Like, it doesn't mean that the first time that you touch fire, it activates? Is there some kind of hotkey that activates
I'm assuming
it?
since it's passive, it's you shoot people and you can kind of see like your screen reddening or something to give you an idea of the rage. And once you deal so much damage, and it's probably in a set amount of time. Once you deal so much damage in a set amount of time, your screen will flash and like change hue, and basically say, okay, you have 20 seconds now.
Yeah, maybe, but that seems a little too random and specific, I guess, because you have to be really on point in order to make that happen. Then, like because. It seems like when I first started reading this, dealing damage builds rage, I thought, oh, now the ultimate ability is going to be rage.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, oh, okay, that's how that's going to work. No. But I do like the idea of having someone revolved around fire, kind of like Caustic is revolved around poison gas. So, yeah.
And the final character we have is called Valk, who their passive is called Afterburners, which basically means that after the initial drop, her and her teammates are able to fly faster when skydiving. So this means if you take a jump tower, after you guys drop and you take a jump tower, anytime you do that, you skydive faster than anyone else would. Her tactical then is VTOL jets, which you would hold the tactical button to hover with using the VTOL jets and
And VTOL, by the way, is vertical takeoff and landing.
Yeah.
So.
But it's not clear whether this lets her be able to go up in the air and move around, or if it just kind of.
It sounds a lot like North Star. And same thing with North Star as well for the incendiary rockets. Like, it could even be something like that for the incendiary rockets for Downfall. Like, he's just unleashes these rockets from his back or something like that.
Yeah.
Sorry, kind of went away from the current legend.
Her final ability is her ultimate called Skyward, which Valk and her nearby allies go fly up into the sky for a short cooldown.
So it's kind of like her VTOL, but for everyone.
Yeah.
But one problem I was having with this was that, would the people have an option, or would they just suddenly start flying?
And would they have control over their characters in the air, or would they just start doing the skydive, or?
Because that'd be very bad if because a lot of people play Apex, I feel like, without communication. Like, a lot of people play without teams. So if you were to be playing as Valk, you'll be taking away some. I feel like as soon as you take away control of somebody else in a game, that's when it starts to be it doesn't become as fun then. Because if you activate her ultimate and all of your allies around you in a certain area start flying, and one of them was trying to take cover, like one of them was trying to take cover because they needed to heal or something, then they're going to be one shot after that or something, and it'll be bad. I feel like it would have to be some kind of, you then have to press a button in order to go up in the air. It gives you a prompt
of some
kind.
Yeah,
but then that could be hard as well for non-PC players who only have a certain amount of buttons.
But I feel like it would just be X or square then. It's your interact button.
Yeah, maybe.
Where it's hold it for half a second instead of just tapping it. Or...
Yeah, but that would also go into the whole point where, if you were then trying to run and pick up a weapon, and then her ultimate, then you'd all of a sudden be flying instead of picking up a weapon. Yeah. So, which is quite a difference.
Arguably.
So, yeah, I just feel like it'd be bad to take away players, it
takes away control from other players without the option, or it actually
But I do really like the idea of VTOL jets.
Yeah.
But also her ultimate ability of everyone being able to fly seems kind of underpowered.
Again, it's something where it's depends on how high they're able to fly, how much control they have, if they're able to use weapons or not while they do it. There's a lot of variables to that where they can make it really strong.
It'd be really OP for Gibraltar. He'd just be a flying shield.
But it's like they can make there's ways they can do that to make it balanced. There's ways they can do it to make it strong or really weak. And I feel like that's something that
right now she just seems weak because, you know, her passive, all it is if you were to be skydiving, then you go faster.
Yeah.
And then her tactical is about as equal as all the other tacticals, where it's, being able to fly that's a pretty good tactical ability, especially if it's like North Star where you have limited movement and it's only for a couple seconds. And by the way, North Star is a Titan in Titanfall 2 if you want to look up who it is. And then her ultimate seems very underpowered as well if it's the exact same thing as the VTOL just for everyone.
Yeah.
Once again, especially if it takes away control of other characters. So I feel like her ultimate should not be based as much around his flight as her other two things are. I think it should still be based around flight in some way, but maybe having some kind of weaponized things like other characters do.
Yeah.
All right, so those are all of the legends that have been leaked from either data mining or, people who have play tested, just talking. By the way, data mining is when people go into the game's code and find things that haven't, been released to the public yet within games. And usually this is mainly when beta testing is going on and people want to find out more information about when the full game comes out. But you can also find out a lot about new updates that are coming out. And so these are all the data mines and stuff that people have found over the course of Apex Legends being released. But yeah, make sure you check out our Instagram and Twitter for any updates that we have. Discord allows you guys to communicate with us or talk with other gamers about different games that we've either talked about during the podcast or, play in general. And then also make sure you check out our website, which will have plenty of other gaming content on there and YouTube channels and everything like that. Also check out my YouTube channel, which has gameplay of the new season and also gameplay of the Halloween update. Also make sure you check out DJ Augie because he's the one who made the music for the beginning and end of this podcast. But besides all of that, game on.